Mercurial, occasionally moody, but on his day, absolutely magnificent. Jacques Villeneuve made a mark in Formula One from his very first Grand Prix. Son of legendary Ferrari racer Gilles Villeneuve, Jacques ploughed his own furrow en route to F1, showing promise in downhill skiing before earning his motorsport spurs in the kart series, winning both the 1995 championship and that year's Indianapolis 500 before a sensational move to Williams for 1996.
He enjoys what he's doing, and I think he just turns up, jumps in the car and he goes quick, and I don't think it really matters whether it's an Indy car or a Formula One car. He's not fazed by it all.
His 11 seasons in the sport would witness sensational highs, none more so than winning the World Championship in 1997, as well as some grounding lows. But one thing's for sure, wherever Jacques Villeneuve went, high drama was sure to follow. He may have claimed the 1997 World Championship with Williams, but his run to that year's crown was a bumpy one, with crashes and mechanical failures threatening to derail Villeneuve's title ambitions. The Canadian's chief rival that year was Ferrari's Michael Schumacher, and the German arrived in Austria for round 14 of 17 with a 10-point lead. But Villeneuve brilliantly hauled himself back into title contention with his second career hat-trick, taking pole position and then overcoming a poor start to claim the win and fastest lap, as Schumacher could only manage P6, the German having been reprimanded for a pass under yellow flags on Villeneuve's Williams teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen earlier in the Grand Prix. Villeneuve's victory closed the gap between the two drivers to a solitary point and set up what would be a thrilling, dramatic and controversial title showdown. Eyebrows had been raised throughout the paddock by Villeneuve's decision to leave Williams at the end of 1998 and head to the brand new British-American racing team that had effectively been purpose-built around him. Success was hard to come by in the squad's early days, with Villeneuve famously retiring from the first 11 Grand Prix he contested for BAR in 1999. But the 2001 Spanish Grand Prix saw them make a significant breakthrough, as Villeneuve benefited from a last-lap retirement from McLaren's Mika Hakkinen to claim the team's first ever podium.
Yeah, it's great. The whole team, everybody in the team has worked really hard for the last 3 years, and to finally get a podium is great. I think it's the boost that everybody was needing.
It was the Canadian's first rostrum appearance in 41 races, while it was fitting that he was joined on it by his old sparring partner Michael Schumacher, along with another F1 maverick making his own podium debut, Juan Pablo Montoya. It took Jacques Villeneuve just 4 Grand Prix to become an F1 winner, and it was another battle with his famous adversary Michael Schumacher that sealed his maiden triumph. A lightning start from second on the grid saw him shoot into the lead at the Nürburgring, ahead of McLaren's David Coulthard, with Villeneuve quickly opening up a huge gap over the Scot. It looked as though Villeneuve's first win would be plain sailing. That is, until Schumacher, the reigning double world champion, began to turn the screw. For over 40 laps, the German wound on the pressure, but Villeneuve couldn't be intimidated, crossing the line having led every single lap to claim his first of 11 F1 victories, and in doing so become the first Canadian to win a Grand Prix since his father, Gilles, 15 years earlier. Just 2 years after being crowned world champion, Jacques Villeneuve had ended the 1999 season, his first with BAR, with a humiliating 0 points to his name. But at the very first race of 2000, Villeneuve would prove that they weren't in Formula One to simply make up the numbers. A creditable 8th place on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix was an indication that progress had been made over the winter. But better was to come in the race, as Villeneuve lapped quickly, consistently and reliably in the Honda-powered machine to claim 4th place, and with it, the first ever points for the squad that Villeneuve had boldly gambled it all on a season earlier. Villeneuve would end the 2000 season 7th in the drivers' standings, having scored 17 points in total. When Villeneuve won the World Championship just 1 year into his F1 career, it had looked like the first title of many, while by 2005, Following an unsuccessful three-race stint with Renault the year before, questions were being asked about whether Villeneuve still had the motivation to compete at the pinnacle of motorsport at all. But at that year's San Marino Grand Prix, and now driving for Sauber, Villeneuve proved that the magic was still there. Qualifying hadn't augured well as he claimed a lowly 11th on the grid, but from there he went on a rampage, picking off the Williams of Mark Webber with an incisive, opportunistic pass at the Variante Alta on lap 29, before taking a strong 6th place, a result that went largely under the radar thanks to the distraction of Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso's riveting battle for victory up front. And Villeneuve would have particularly enjoyed what happened next, as weight infringements on both BARs of Jenson Button and Takuma Sato saw them excluded from the race, promoting Villeneuve into P4 for Sauber's joint best finish of the year. Some people will tell you that Williams' struggles in 1998 masked what was actually Jacques Villeneuve's best season in Formula One, and his performance at that year's German Grand Prix definitely adds weight to the argument. 1998 marked the start of a decline in Williams' fortunes, with Frank Williams' squad hamstrung by the dual losses of Renault as an engine partner and Adrian Newey as chief designer, meaning that having won 8 races in 1997, Williams hadn't even appeared on the podium by the time F1 rolled into Hockenheim for the 1998 German Grand Prix. A poor start saw him drop to 4th on the opening lap, but having passed the Jordan of Ralf Schumacher, Villeneuve trained his sights on the all-conquering McLaren pair in front of him, reeling them in the final stages of the race and scything instinctively through the backmarkers as he piled on the pressure, but ultimately coming up just short. Villeneuve's storming drive had given Williams their first podium of 1998.
We've got to build from here, and the target is to try and get back in and be a serious front competitor by the end of the year.
And he followed that up with another P3 in Hungary just one race later. Right from Jacques Villeneuve's very first qualifying session in Formula One, the French-Canadian left the paddock in no doubt that he had what it took to make it in the sport. At the inaugural Grand Prix to be held on Melbourne's Albert Park circuit, Villeneuve claimed pole position from his more experienced Williams teammate Damon Hill by 1/10 and a half, becoming just the 3rd driver after Mario Andretti and Carlos Reutemann to take pole position on their debut with a stunning lap around Albert Park. He may have followed that up by becoming only the 2nd rookie in F1 history after Giancarlo Baghetti to win on their debut. But an oil leak on his Williams saw Villeneuve forced to concede victory to Hill as he followed his teammate home to claim what was still an impressive P2 finish in his first Grand Prix.
Well, for sure it's disappointing to lead most of the race and then having to slow down, but the whole race itself was fun. It was a great battle with Damon, and for sure today was a good demonstration of the Williams Renault, and it's a very strong package.
Villeneuve arrived at the penultimate round of 1996, needing a strong race at Estoril to keep his title hopes against teammate Damon Hill alive. And a strong race is exactly what Villeneuve provided. The crowning glory on the Canadian's run to his 4th career victory was an audacious pass on Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. As the pair were approaching the backmarker Minardi of Giovanni Lavaggi, going into the final parabolica turn, Schumacher appeared to check his speed, looking to spook Villeneuve behind him. But the tactic didn't work, with Villeneuve using all of his oval racing experience to brave it around the outside, heading onto the main straight. Villeneuve didn't let up from there either, putting in some storming laps to pip Hill to victory, and setting up a title showdown between the pair at the final race of the season at Suzuka.
We had to beat Damon by at least 10 points to still keep us a slim chance for the championship, and it was a good battle with Michael until we came upon some traffic. He was going slowly before the last turn, hoping I would stay behind, but we just got him on the outside. So I think the oval experience helped a little bit there, and it was actually a lot of fun.
When reigning world champion Damon Hill was moved aside at Williams for the 1997 season in favour of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, his new teammate didn't take kindly to the German being publicly touted by Williams as their next world champion. The destruction began when Villeneuve took a decisive victory in the pair's first set piece, qualifying for the season-opening Australian Grand Prix. Frentzen would claim second place on the grid for the race, marking what was, at that point, his best ever qualifying performance in Formula One. Villeneuve's own lap, however, would mean that Frentzen's joy was short-lived. In inspired form, Villeneuve lapped the Albert Park circuit a full 1.754 seconds faster than his own teammate, and over 2 seconds faster than the next non-Williams runner, to claim a dominant pole position, decisively showing Williams who their next world champion would be in the process.
Well, I was a little bit surprised by the difference in lap time, I must say that. I don't know why, but it felt great. The car was very good and we did a lot of quick laps, so I'm very confident.
Few title deciders in the history of Formula One have been as brilliant and breathless as the one that settled the outcome of the 1997 season. Villeneuve arrived at Jerez for the European Grand Prix, trailing Michael Schumacher by 1 point, and quickly set about playing psychological games with his adversary. Villeneuve reminding the press at every available opportunity about the questionable tactics that had won Schumacher his maiden title 3 years earlier. Villeneuve wanted to show Ferrari that he wasn't prepared to be pushed around on track, laying down another marker when he remonstrated with Schumacher's teammate Eddie Irvine after being blocked by the Northern Irishman in practice. After Villeneuve had qualified for the race on pole position, his time remarkably matched to the 1,000th of a second by both Schumacher and Williams teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Villeneuve's race got off to a poor start when he bogged down off the line, letting Schumacher into the lead while confusion between the Williams pair saw Frentzen claim second from Villeneuve at turn 1. With Villeneuve back up to P2 and on the hunt for Schumacher in the latter stages of the race, the Canadian spotted an opportunity to pounce on his rival going into the tight dry-sack right-hander. Villeneuve went for it, his daring lunge appearing to catch Schumacher unawares.
Villeneuve is all over him, look, he's going through! Oh yes!
Help!
I don't think...
Out goes Michael Schumacher!
That didn't work, Michael, you hit the wrong part of him, my friend. I don't think that will cause Villeneuve a problem.
The way he hit me was really, really hard. I'm surprised that I could actually finish the race. I couldn't go more on the inside. I was actually on the grass. Either Michael had his eyes closed or somehow his hands slid on the steering or something.
Villeneuve was ultimately able to continue, and although he conceded victory to McLaren's Mika Häkkinen on the final lap, Villeneuve's 4 points for third place was enough to see him crowned as Canada's first, and still to this day, only Formula One world champion.